Jennifer was the reason why the bullies hated Quinn the most and tormented him both physically and mentally. The reason. She was the hottest girl in their school, while Quinn was the only powerless kid in a school of superheroes. Then came the day when Quinn ran out of patience and challenged Troy, the mightiest superhero, to a combat trial, unaware that what he was about to face would be worse than death.
Stay down. I'll make sure your cute girlfriend will be screaming my name tonight.
Quinn hurt all over, but he picked himself up and faced the 7-foot-tall Troy. To many, Troy was the handsome star superhero of the Academy. To Quinn, he was his worst nightmare.
Where's Jennifer?
Clearly not by your side any longer, after I've beaten you. By midnight, I'm sure she'll have forgotten who you are. Talentless talent.
I may not have any superpowers, but what I have with Jennifer is real.
Troy levitated into the air. Balls of fire danced above both his palms.
Great. Why don't you use your feelings and I use my superpower, and let's see who wins the Apex tournament. If you can defeat me, I won't lay a finger on Jennifer again, even if we both know she'll be begging me for it.
Quinn could not contain his rage anymore. He lunged at Troy, nothing but his naked fists. Half of his shirt had been reduced to ash, revealing a skinny, pale chest. Ember atop his head burned through his hair. Troy was thrice his size, literally, but Quinn fearlessly attacked. He swung his fist in the middle of the arena boxing ring, but Troy simply smiled. A blast of fire shielded Troy and sent Quinn flying. Before Quinn could rise, Troy leapt into the air and slammed his body down on Quinn. He put the weak freshman in a chokehold.
Look who's shown up.
Quinn's eyes darted out of the boxing ring, where he found Jennifer looking back at him apathetically.
Jennifer? Troy and his friends did something to you, right? Did one of them use telepathy? I'll save you. I promise. I'll save you.
Save me? No, Quinn. 1, you can't save me. And 2, I don't need saving. We're done, Quinn. I'm with Troy now.
Why? We've been friends since we could walk. We've been dating for 10 years. I thought everything was good. Why did you cheat on me?
Everything was good? Did you know how difficult it was being the girlfriend of the biggest loser in the Academy? You're powerless, Quinn. Look at yourself. You can't protect yourself, much less put up a fight. This was your last chance to prove yourself against Troy. But look at yourself. What a pathetic showing.
Quinn felt Troy's chokehold tighten. He flailed, trying to release himself, but Troy's grip was steel.
Yield already. You know you want to. Just tap out.
Quinn refused to. He squirmed like a little worm and the whole stadium burst into laughter. Jennifer shook her head, feeling the secondhand embarrassment.
This isn't right, Jennifer.
He was losing consciousness, but he still refused to tap out. He had some fight left in him, but then a flaming fist slammed into his face. And the last thing Quinn remembered was Jennifer turning away, disgusted. Everything went black. Quinn had lost the match in humiliating fashion. But little did any of them know the tables would be turned very soon. He woke up in the school's infirmary the next morning in a lame brown uniform. Later that night, battered and bruised Quinn reached outside his dorm room. He felt something poking on his leg. He yanked the jewelry box from his pocket. It was his grandmother's wedding ring. He was going to give it to Jennifer as a promise, but maybe in a few years. But now, it was worthless.
Stupid ring.
In a daze, he threw the velvet box down the hallway, and it crashed against the far wall. When he realized what he'd done, he snapped out of it.
Damn it. What the hell am I gonna do now?
He ran to the end of the hallway and scooped up the ring. Thankfully, it was all right, still in one piece. Only the jewelry box was destroyed. So he stuck the naked ring in his pocket.
What the hell am I gonna do now?
But just then, his phone pinged with a message. The message was from an unknown number.
To Quinn Talon from ISA Base 039G. You have 24 hours to pick up your belongings or they will be incinerated. An escort will arrive to pick you up at your home at 0800 hours.
Quinn stared at the message.
What the hell? Is this even real? Maybe it's a scam.
Regardless, he wanted to be ready for whatever happened, so he hurried home. Quinn had no idea what was waiting for him would change his life forever. The next morning, Quinn woke to pounding on his door. He threw on a shirt and pants, realizing he had overslept. When he opened the door, he found two muscled soldiers.
Quinn Talon,
That's me.
we have to confirm.
He revealed a biometric scanner.
Just look into the screen.
Quinn looked at the screen as a green light scanned his face. A computer voice spoke from the tablet.
Confirmed Quinn Talon, 17 years old, student at Powered High School. Parents deceased. Killed during the second wave of alien invasion.
The soldiers looked at him with humorless faces.
Follow us.
They led Quinn to an olive-drab government vehicle, parked out front, and climbed in the back. He was nervous, but a little excited to see what kind of ability he would be given. He knew it wouldn't be much, but he had never had anything before.
What's this all about?
The soldier didn't answer.
Where are we going?
Still nothing.
What is the mysterious thing I'm gonna receive?
Again, the soldiers were silent.
You can't tell me anything?
Affirmative.
Fine.
He sat back in the Spartan seats and watched out the window as the vehicle spread across the city to a heavily fortified military base.
Whoa.
Quinn said, taking it all in. The walls around it must have been 20 feet tall, ringed with plasma grenade turrets. There was no sign out front except for a symbol of a circle with a rocket through it.
Where are we?
The armory.
Outside the gate, the vehicle was inspected by both X-ray scanners and bomb-sniffing dogs. It seemed like soldiers were stationed everywhere with guns sighted on Quinn. Everyone seemed ready for an imminent attack. But from where, Quinn wondered. When they were finally cleared, the massive titanium gate lumbered across. Inside the massive walls, there were more soldiers and superheroes rushing about. The vehicle stopped in front of a low-slung concrete bunker.
This is it.
This is what?
The armory. Go inside. We'll get more instructions.
Quinn exited the vehicle and strode to the front door of the building. But as he reached the door, he was launched backward several feet.
What the hell?
He realized that as he had reached the door, someone else had been exiting. A young woman with long brown hair, ruby eyes, and muscular arms. Quinn sighed. She must have powers because just pushing the door open sent him flying.
Watch where you're going, loser.
Quinn stood up, brushing himself off.
Sorry, I didn't see you.
What do you mean you didn't see me? I wasn't using an invisibility cloak.
As they were walking, a soldier approached in a pristinely pressed uniform. Her polished silver name tag read, Bridger. She hurried to the woman's side.
Scarlet, are you okay?
Scarlet, which Quinn realized must be the name of the woman with red eyes, chuckled.
I'm fine. This weak-ass loser might be hurt, though.
Bridger looked over at Quinn.
What's your name and serial number?
My name is Quinn Talon, but I don't have a serial number. At least not that I know of. I got a message about a vault.
Quinn showed her the message on his phone.
This must be some kind of mistake. Level zeros aren't allowed inside.
When Scarlet heard that, she became indignant.
This loser is a level 0? You gave me a bruise on my forehead, you punk.
Sorry.
Scarlet's face turned 3 shades of red.
Sorry?
She stepped over to Quinn and raised her fist. But suddenly, an older man in a bespoke silk suit strolled over.
Scarlet.
Hearing that, Scarlet scampered over to him, and they disappeared into the base, leaving Quinn and Bridger alone.
I don't know if you have anything in the armory, but you can proceed in and check. Good luck.
Quinn strolled into the strange building with stale, humid air, probably from being half buried underground.
Hello?
Inside the armory, Commander Miller was leaning against the wall, looking at his phone. When the door suddenly opened, he quickly sat down and hid his phone away. Normally, when someone was coming in, they were high-ranking or very powerful. Commander Miller was responsible for every ability book in the armory, especially those reserved for special clients. But when he saw Quinn, his expression froze. He was certain that Quinn was not one of his special clients, nor was he a relative of one.
State your name.
Commander Miller had no idea who he was.
I'm here to get my ability book.
You have one of our cards?
No.
I'm sorry, sir. We can't give out ability books without a card. Do you require anything else?
You have fingerprint recognition here, right?
The fingerprint ID system at the armory was for special individuals, ones that were left ability books that were rare, or those chosen by the military at a very young age for their lineage. Only a few people had their fingerprints recorded in the system.
We do. I'm not sure what that has to do with you.
I received a message that I would be brought here for my ability book. They told me on my way in I would have my finger scanned and given my book.
Robert was feeling more confused by the second. Why would they tell him that? Why would they send him there at all? Powerless people were usually given their books at training in the academy. To be honest, even though he was curious, Commander Miller felt that it was barely worth humoring the request. After considering for a few seconds, he finally decided to let Quinn make the attempt rather than having him thrown out right away. He opened the safe and brought out the fingerprint identification device, which he had never used before.
Place your thumb here.
Miller indicated the verification area to Quinn, who placed his thumb on the sensor. The device lit up with a glaring red light, and the LCD screen displayed the words, "Fingerprint not recorded." Immediately, Miller's expression turned hostile, and he glared at Quinn. He picked up his phone, ready to call security.
Wait! Maybe that was a wrong print. I'll try using my index finger this time.
What's your plan here? Your thumb doesn't work. So, you'll try your index finger. Then, if your index finger doesn't work, you'll try your middle finger. When you run out of fingers, will you try using your toes?
But Quinn had already pressed his index finger on the verification area. The commander was tired of his games. If the fingerprint didn't work, he was ready to throw him out on his ass. A green light appeared on the device and new details flashed up on the LCD screen. Verification successful. Family account 01. Verifier Quinn Talon. Account 01104. Commander Miller gaped at Quinn in disbelief for a moment, and then hurriedly squeezed out a smile.
Mr. Talon, I'm sorry. I didn't realize. I'm Commander Miller, the ward of the U.S. Military Armory of Relics. Please allow me to assist you.
It's fine. I know there aren't that many of us, but this is a lot to go through for some level 1 ability book.
Please wait a moment.
Miller sat in front of the computer and typed away for a while. On his instructions, Quinn provided a few more fingerprint scans as authorization.
It's done, Mr. Talon.
Miller clicked the OK button on the screen, and Quinn's account appeared. Commander Miller pointed to the computer screen and said,
Give me one moment, and I will retrieve your book.
Quinn stood there, tapping his feet, looking through the cage behind the desk. There were rows and rows of shelves, all holding ability books. But Commander Miller didn't go there. He went to a vault door, typed in a code, and disappeared inside. When he returned, he was holding a metal box with a key.
No, you go ahead. The book's so useless they locked them away from the others. Great.
But as Commander Miller opened the box and pulled out the book, Quinn noticed the look of shock on his face.
This is an extremely rare book. I've read about it. There's only this one in existence.
Quinn lifted his brow, taking the red leather-bound book from him. On the cover, a pair of fangs were stuck to the front.
What ability does it have?
No one really knows. But we've cataloged some possibilities.
Quinn began to feel nervous. He unclasped the lock and opened it, flipping through the pages, but they were blank.
I don't get it. There's nothing here.
There will be when you begin to achieve the levels of the book.
So, what powers have you heard of?
We've heard this ability book can produce powers beyond any human on Earth.
Quinn lifted his brow at the commander, assuming it was just another string of bad luck.
So, what do I do with it?
Commander Miller just stood there, taking another step back. As the commander reached slowly for the phone, Quinn grabbed the golden-colored cloth that was in the case, wrapped it around the book, and turned to go. He could tell it wasn't a good idea to stick around.
Thank you.
Talon, wait.
Commander Miller hadn't even known that the book really existed. And now that he did, he knew someone higher up than him would want to know. Bridger was anxiously waiting in the hall.
What's been going on in there for so long? Could that loser have murdered Commander Miller for a book?
The more she considered it, the more scared she became. She was on the verge of banging on the door and demanding a response when Quinn walked confidently out of the room.
Stop.
She walked quickly over toward him and grabbed at his coat.
You can't leave. You broke into the armory. Once we confirm that nothing is missing, the military police will escort you to holdings and hold you for questioning.
What are you talking about? Let go!
Bridger grappled with him for a while, but he pulled hard away from her.
What's wrong with this woman?
He wasn't even arguing with her, but she was manhandling him.
What is this?
Bridger spotted the gold cloth-covered book he was holding. She quickly pulled it out and looked at him triumphantly, as if she had found evidence of his guilt.
Oh, you stole an ability book. This is a crime, and I have to call the MP.
It didn't even cross her mind that the book could belong to Quinn. She imagined he had entered the armory, pretending to be there by mistake, and had then distracted Commander Miller with questions and stolen the book when the commander wasn't looking.
Let go!
Quinn was sick of this woman.
Don't you feel guilty about being a thief?
With the two of them creating such a scene, other soldiers started to walk over toward them, intending to help Bridger keep Quinn from getting away. Just then, Commander Miller, who had finished locking up, walked quickly out of the armory. Having seen Quinn's relic, Miller now knew he could be either incredibly important or very dangerous. It was rare to meet individuals like Quinn, even if they seemed powerless. So Robert knew he had to be careful not to upset Quinn. He could be their savior. But Miller also knew, if triggered, he could be their demise. He had no idea what that book would give to him. So when he saw Sergeant Bridger struggling with Quinn, he panicked. Bridger's expression was hostile, and Quinn was becoming very angry. She was an idiot who was playing with fire, and she might drag everyone down with her. Of all the armory's many, many patrons, why did she need to pick this one to try and remove? A simple flick of Quinn's finger could be enough to end both their lives.
Stop.
Commander Miller dashed between Quinn and Bridger.
Commander, look! He stole a book from the armory.
She smiled at him, her expression a little smug. Surely Commander Miller would be happy with her for preventing theft.
Let go of Mr. Talon.
As he yelled, Commander Miller knocked the gold cloth out of her hand, and she was so scared that she let go of Quinn. The commander pushed her aside and bent down to pick up the cloth.
Mr. Talon, I'm very sorry. I haven't trained Bridger properly. I do apologize.
Sergeant Bridger was stunned.
Could the book be his?
She wondered. A poor lower-class loser with that much power? No, it was just too unlikely. It's not your fault, Commander Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Talon.
Miller dipped his head and paused briefly before straightening up and shouting at the sergeant.
Why are you just standing there? Apologize to Mr. Talon immediately.
The sergeant immediately bowed her head at Quinn.
Mr. Talon, I'm very sorry for my rude behavior. I made a mistake, created a fuss over nothing, and put my hands on you. It was my fault, and I will reflect on my behavior.
Quinn ignored her and walked away.
Mr. Talon, If you ever need anything, just give me a call, and I'll do my best to help. And as a suggestion, I would keep quiet about what you have received. In fact, I wouldn't tell anyone.
Quinn nodded nervously. He didn't understand what could possibly be so important about a book with nothing in it. But it had spooked a war veteran. So he figured he should probably listen, at least for now. Just then, he looked at his watch.
Oh shit, I'm late.
He sprinted out of the armory and base and hailed a taxi.
Elite High School.
It was the last day of classes, and despite whatever mystery he held in his hands, he had to finish his classes. As Quinn rushed across campus, he accidentally stepped into a puddle, splashing mud all over his legs.
Damn it!
But he didn't have time to change or clean off his legs. He hurried into his classroom, where Mr. Morgan was already standing at the podium, lecturing. Mr. Morgan spotted Quinn out of the corner of his eye, and a hint of disappointment flashed across his face. Feeling guilty, Quinn lowered his head. Of all his teachers, Mr. Morgan was his favorite. The other teachers tended to ignore Quinn because he had no powers, and some even openly mocked him. Only Mr. Morgan treated him like any other student. Quinn slipped quietly into a row of desks at the back of class. He suddenly realized that all the students were staring at him, and he could hear them whispering. He isn't usually this late. Hell must have frozen over. Look at his pants, they're filthy. Doesn't he have any clean clothes? Are you joking? It's not like he'd have the money for new ones. It looks like he'd just thrown on whatever he could find. Ugh, he looks homeless. All right, silence everyone. Throughout the lecture, Quinn noticed that Mr. Morgan kept glancing at him, as if Quinn had failed to live up to his expectations. Eventually, the lecture was over. Class dismissed, Mr. Morgan said. He packed up his textbooks and left.
Jennifer.
Everyone turned in the direction of the voice and saw Troy walking through the door and going straight to Jennifer, who was sitting by the window. She stood and hugged him, pulling him in close to her body. Troy lowered his head, and everyone thought that he was Jennifer's boyfriend, and they weren't aware that she had broken up with him. Quinn watched in disgust. He'd heard that Troy had taken at least 5 different girls to stay at that hotel. Jennifer was just the latest in a long... Troy strutted past Quinn with his arm around Jennifer's waist.
Darling, wait a minute.
She stopped in front of Quinn and held out her phone.
Since we've broken up, I don't want to owe you anything. Here's the phone you bought for me a few weeks ago. You can have it back.
Quinn glanced at the Samsung Galaxy phone. But before he could take it, she smirked and tossed it high into the air. Troy shot lasers from his eyes and hit the phone, blowing it into pieces.
Oh, poor Quinny. Guess you can't return that one. No food for a month for you. Huh, you would have to work part-time for 6 months to afford one of these.
Jennifer took a brand new phone out of her pocket and showed it to Quinn.
This is the latest iPhone, and it's much better than your phone.
Of course, it's far too expensive for a loser like him. Jennifer told me that she kept asking for that phone for 6 months before you finally bought it for her. Do you think you can pick up a girl so far out of your league? You're just embarrassing yourself, so give up. And I'm warning you now, don't even think about her. If I find out you've gone anywhere near her, you'll regret it.
Don't waste your breath talking to a loser like him. Can we go to DeLuca's for lunch?
Call me baby.
Baby, let's go.
She flirted with him right in front of Quinn. In the middle of it, a beautiful young woman with a purple streak in her hair stood up.
Jennifer, have some class. You're taking this too far. I never thought you would break up with Quinn, and I'm ashamed of you.
Why do you care?
Look, people break up all the time. That's your prerogative. But you don't have to rub his nose in it at every opportunity. Quinn never hurt a fly. And all you're doing is trying to hurt him?
You're right about one thing. Quinn never hurt a fly, probably because a fly would hurt him.
You're a heartless bitch, Jen. Just leave him alone.
Why? Do you like him?
This isn't about me.
Yes, 1,000,000 times yes. What's so wrong about liking money and power? That's what makes the universe go round.
She stuck her nose in the air and grabbed Troy's arm.
Come on, baby. Let's go. These two urchins disgust me.
And Layla turned to Quinn.
You alright?
Yeah, It's not the first time I've heard those things.
Layla strolled over to him and hugged him.
You're better off without her. You've seen her true nature, and she's not worth being upset over.
I'll be okay. Thanks for standing up for me.
Come on, to celebrate from being free of that, I'll treat you to dinner. Don't argue. How about a nice place somewhere off campus, like DeLuca's?
DeLuca's was an upscale Italian restaurant, and only the most powerful students at the school could afford to eat there. It was also Jennifer and Troy's favorite place.
Maybe another time? I don't want to bump into Jennifer, but one day, I'll take you out, okay?
Inside, Quinn wanted to scream. This was his Achilles heel. He just didn't have the money to do what everyone else did. Seeing Layla's disappointment made him even more embarrassed.
I gotta go.
Little did he know, his whole life was about to change, and he could take Layla to any restaurant in the city. But not yet. For now, Quinn hustled back to his dorm. On his way, he got a message from his roommate, Borden.
Yo, it's official. I'm no longer single. See you at the room.
Quinn chuckled. Even during this painful situation, he still felt happy for Borden.
That lucky son of a bitch.
Quinn whispered to himself. As he raced through his building, he saw his other roommate, Peter.
Did you see Vorden's message?
Yeah.
Back at the room, they flung open the door and saw Borden sitting on the bed with a girl holding hands. Borden was a level 3, and he was strong and muscular too. No one really understood why he hung out with Powerless Quinn and Peter, who barely had any powers himself.
What's good, my bros? She's a level 3.
Susan stood up and nodded with a smile. Peter looked at her, and his heart started beating faster. She had pale skin, delicately shaped eyebrows, and a great body. She's perfect, he thought.
Let's celebrate. I'm taking you all out. Why don't you bring Jennifer along?
Everyone knew about Quinn's lack of power and that he couldn't get into trendy restaurants. So, Borden decided to take this opportunity to help his friend.
We've split up.
Split up? Really?
Peter glanced at Borden and he understood the silent message. The reason for this split was obvious. Quinn's lack of powers.
Hurry up!
Susan looked at her phone and then raised her hand.
My roommates have already left for the restaurant, and they're all quite impatient, so don't make them wait too long.
Okay, then you guys get cleaned up and changed, and then we can get going. Come on, let's wait for them outside.
Borden stepped outside the dormitory with Susan and turned to see her standing with her arms crossed.
What's wrong?
Aren't your roommates a little too unpowered? I mean, Peter is not very handsome and obviously not rich enough for any good ability book. Quinn isn't bad, but I've heard people teasing him. He's powerless. How can I introduce them to my roommates?
Borden felt a little uncomfortable, but he forced a smile and said,
It's just a meal. It's not like it's a blind date or anything. So why do you care so much about their powers?
Do you think my friends are just coming for the food? I know them. Although they didn't come right out and say it, they're hoping your roommates are good boyfriend material. I've shown them your picture, and they must think that your friends are like you.
Then blame me, because I didn't tell you they're all underpowered.
His smile was a little bitter. He'd been assigned to Quinn and Peter's dorm because the others were full, but he liked them. He protected them.
Why don't you tell your roommates that the meal is canceled? They'd probably just end up embarrassed if they went.
Cancel it? No.
If he canceled now, it would be awkward. Wouldn't that just make things worse?
Fine then, but I'm not responsible for whatever happens.
Just then, she received a call from one of her roommates. Susan held her cell phone to her ear.
Scarlett, you two are there? How is it? When we get there, you'll see for yourselves. All right, I'll hurry them up. Just wait.
As she was talking, Quinn and Peter came out of the dormitory.
Borden, see how good I look?
Peter gestured to his half-sleeve shirt as he looked at Borden expectantly.
Cool.
Borden smiled and patted his shoulder. Thankfully, Peter hadn't heard Susan try to cancel the lunch. If he had, it would have been a blow to his confidence. Borden looked at Quinn, who had followed Peter out. He frowned.
Quinn, why haven't you changed?
What about my friends? Can't you get dressed up for them? Something.
Quinn looks fine. What do you expect him to wear? He's not Borden, and he's never going to look like him.
Susan shook her head. Her roommates were going to be very disappointed. This was going to be a disaster.
Fine. But just don't bring up your levels. rules, okay? Let's go.
And they all followed her out of the dormitory. Scarlett and Stacy sat at a table in La Belvier. All of them were pretty, and it was clear they came from good family.
Scarlett, there's a lump on your forehead. What happened?
Oh.
Scarlett touched the little mark, her sweet face looking a little angry.
Don't remind me, Stacy. Remember how I said I went to the armory with my father to pick up my new ability book? Well, I met a powerless dumbass who got in the way of the door.
Ouch. Did he at least apologize? The armory is usually a place only for the most powered, right?
Scarlett used her phone to take a picture of her head and then checked it. Thankfully, the lump was not too obvious. She put her phone down and smiled at her friend.
He did apologize. I was a bit stunned when I saw him there. You know what kind of people the armory is there for, right?
You mean those with the strongest powers? So, this guy didn't belong?
Exactly. Later on, when the sergeant came over, she found out that the guy didn't even have paperwork. I think he was just an idiot who went there thinking they'd give him something out of pity. Maybe he thought that just anyone could get an upper-level book.
If I'd done that, I would have died from embarrassment.
After all that, I didn't even look at him and just left with my dad. We'll see if he dares to try it again in the future, or if he dares to show his face anywhere. They might have thrown him in the brig for all I know. Probably better that way. Let's stop talking about him. I never saw him again anyway.
Why isn't Susan here with the others yet? Scarlett picked up her phone and frowned slightly as she looked at the screen displaying her chat with Susan.
Her boyfriend is rather handsome and quite muscly. Just my type. If one of his roommates looks like that, don't fight me for him.
You little slut.
Little did they know, Quinn and Peter were the lowest of the low. A short time later, Vorden, Susan, Peter, and Quinn arrived at the fancy restaurant. When Quinn peeked inside the stylish interior, he noticed the snobby young woman he bumped into at the armory.
Damn it.
What?
Oh, damn it, I said. I think I jammed my finger in the door. Maybe I'll go to the bathroom to run it under some cold water.
Suit yourself. Meet us at the table.
As Vorden, Susan, and Peter strolled over to Scarlett and Stacy, Quinn peeled off from the group and ducked into the bathroom. He didn't want to deal with that stuck-up woman again. But what could he do? Alone in the bathroom, he took the mysterious leather book out of his bag.
Why can't you help me?
But the book did nothing. It just seemed to stare back at him.
This is ridiculous.
He launched the book across the bathroom and it smashed into the tile wall. Then Quinn yanked the ring out of his pocket that he had meant to give to Jennifer, his grandmother's ring. He held it in the air, twisting it in the light. Quinn suddenly worried if it was the cause of all his problems.
I hate everything.
That's when he noticed something strange. After crashing off the wall, the ring hadn't come to rest on the floor. It slowly rolled toward the book.
What the hell?
The ring slipped onto the cover and fitted into a tiny indentation. An explosion rocked the bathroom, blowing sinks off the wall. Right then, there was a knock at the door.
Sarah, is everything all right in there?
A man asked in a French accent. Quinn scrambled to the door and locked.
I'm fine. Everything's fine.
That's when the book flipped open and an ancient voice projected from the pages.
Quinn Talon, your system has been activated.
What?
Your system has been activated.
There was a long pause.
You can have your girlfriend back, or you can save the universe.
And that's when Quinn made a decision that would change his life forever. What happened? What was the system and book that Quinn accessed? What did Quinn choose? Would he ever get revenge on Jennifer and Troy? And more importantly, did he now have powers?
To know more, download the Pocket FM app and listen to the blockbuster audio series My Vampire System.